would suggest.
Good evening and welcome to the July 20th Scarborough Town Council meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilor Wood?
Here.
Councilor Rancourt?
Here.
Councilor DeAndrea? Here. Council Chair Roy?
Here. General public comments. This is the time for general public comments. You're allowed 3 minutes. State your name and your address.
My name's Martin Tripp, and I live in Oceanwood, 26 Oceanwood. Doesn't have to do to start with the school, but the Black Point Park, they put in a slide that must have cost $5,000. You got flowers at the intersection. We still have the discussion of Elsie the Elm. I'm totally against spending town money on this. The new intersection down on the Payne Road has got flowers in it. I don't understand these expenses. You've got other things that are coming up. You've got another intersection. You have a possible public service building. You have a library. Now, why I'm concerned about the little bills. You want to build a school. I figure roughly $40 million if you count the geothermal into that and into your bonding. Now, the other day they said 2.8% would get you whatever. It actually comes to $19 million in interest at 2.8%. The other day I was talking and they said, well, maybe we couldn't get 2.8%. Now, at 3%, you pay $20 million worth of interest, $20.7 million in interest over the course of 30 years, $168,000 a month. If you continue, I got this from a banker, punched it in, to go 3.2%, you pay 22.2% in million in interest, $173,000 a month. And basically, for every 0.2% that you deteriorate your loan rate, you're going up $1.5 million. You've got to stop spending on the small things, because if you end up at, let's say, 3.6%, your interest on that loan is $25.4 million, and your monthly rate is $182,000. Every 0.2% that you go up on this loan rate because you're throwing money away in another spot costs you $50,000 a year. And the other day when I was here on Wednesday or Thursday of last week, they said everybody has to be responsible. Responsible starts when you stop spending the money and playing the Army game of we got it, we spend it. This deterioration, if it goes to that, 0.2%, you've just thrown out a teacher's salary. You got to stop. That's what I have to say about that. The school, I don't have any complaints about, but if they're going to be responsible and hold the line there, the town has to be responsible and hold the line everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tripp.
Good evening. My name's Ted Ellis from 4 Thurston Lane, and I'm here to speak about the Wentworth School referendum. I am a proponent of the school project, as will be presented to you this evening. Although I'm retired, I'm convinced that the need to replace the school is important. We need to eliminate the environmental risks and provide a more efficient, effective facility. Many elements of the design will allow for future growth and other community use. The recession has brought dramatic reductions in operations and programs for both the town and school. Although these actions were necessary for reacting to the recession, I would suggest that enough has been done. You should, in the next operating budget, make no further reductions for staffing in town or education. It's sort of enough is enough. It's been dramatic what you've done. I understand that. To me, speaking to finance, which has been my specialty for years, there's no better time to finance a large municipal facility. Interest rates for public sector issuance are very low. If you review the town manager, the next 5 years' debt payments, you'll find that there are significant decreases in the fiscal years between 2012 and 2015. The point in this is that if debt decreases, generally what happens, that decrease gets used towards other operating costs. I would suggest in using your wisdom with this and looking carefully forward, in 2012, you have just under a $400,000 increase between principal and interest and debt. 2013, $390,000, and the kicker in 2014 is just under $1 million. So if you were to refer this to referendum, and it was successful, which I hope it will be, by the time design is done and construction gets started, your actual issuance of bonds or bond anticipation notes and bonds are just fitting into that schedule to your benefit and the citizens' benefit. To me, I know an expense is an expense. I've heard it for many years sitting in meetings like this. When you have a significant increase because of debt payments, that's one thing. But when you have debt that's going to decline during those periods, you could use that differential, and certainly it's a cost, but it's not an increase to the present operating budgets going forward at this particular time. Financial condition. This town is well managed and over the years has demonstrated the courage to maintain a good fund balance. Staff has also prepared their annual financial statements in accordance with nationally recognized standards. This financial condition is also recognized in the credit review analysis of Moody's and Standard & Poor's. And for those that do understand, a AA3 rating is pretty good rating. Actually, it's pretty close to excellent. This has a major impact when you issue bond anticipation notes and bonds. The higher rating you have, the better the marketplace looks at, and generally you have an effective lower rate for the bonds that you issue. I encourage you as a council to think beyond the current recession problems. Your decisions are for all citizens' best interests, and the challenge is to think long-term. This new school facility will be a big step forward for what is still a growing community. And I appreciate your listening.
Thank you. Other general comments, please?
Good evening. My name is Charity Hurst, and I'm here with Home Health Visiting Nurses. And I understand that you have a lot of people here and a full agenda tonight, so I don't want to take up very much of your time. But I'm here tonight on behalf of our staff and the hundreds of patients that we serve in Scarborough each year to thank you as a town for your long history of supporting home and community health care. Thanks to this town's financial support, we are able to care for patients in Scarborough who lack insurance or other resources to pay for the care that they need. And as a token of our appreciation, we have a letter addressed to all of the council and the town manager, signed by our CEO and the entire Scarborough home care team. And we also have prepared a framed certificate of recognition for the whole town to thank you for your support. And we do really appreciate the partnership we have with Scarborough in helping us care for the residents in need. I included a business card in with this letter, and I encourage anyone from the council or anyone from the town, if there's any unmet needs that you ever identify, please give us a call with any ideas or suggestions that we can better meet the needs of Scarborough. And I want to thank you again for your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other public comment? Hearing none, minutes of the June 15th meeting. Motion, please.
Move approval, Madam Chair.
Second.
Any errors, corrections, or omissions? I would just make one adjustment to item 11, my council comments, just to correct that I congratulated the girls and boys lacrosse teams on their state championship and the tennis teams in their second place. Other comments, questions, or corrections? All those in favor? Thank you.
Order number 1153, 7 p.m. public hearing and action on the new request for a food handler's license from Leo Masaweski, doing business as Sea Smoke Barbecue, located at 183 U.S. Route 1, Suite D, and from Red Robin International Incorporated, doing business as Red Robin Gourmet Burgers, located at 800 Gallery Boulevard.
This is a public hearing. I will open the public hearing. Is there any public who would like to comment on either of these two businesses? Hearing no comments, I will close the public hearing. Motion from the council.
Move approval.
Second.
Any questions, comments?
Just a
Councilor
comment,
Wood?
I'd just like to welcome Sea Smoke BBQ and Red Robin International and thank them for choosing Scarborough to do business.
Any other comments? All those in favor? Thank you.
Order number 11-54, 7 p.m. public hearing and action on the new request for a liquor license from Red Robin International Incorporated, doing business as Red Robin Gourmet Burgers, located at 800 Gallery Boulevard.
I will open the public hearing, and is there anybody who would like to make a comment on this request for a license, liquor license? Seeing no comments, I will close the public hearing. Motion from the council.
Move approval.
Second.
Comments? All those in favor? Thank you.
Resolution 11-6, resolution to accept the preliminary design and cost estimate for the new Wentworth Intermediate School and to acknowledge that the matter will be placed on the November 8, 2011 ballot.
Are there any other public comments at this time on this item? Councilor Wood, would you please read the resolution?
My pleasure, Madam Chair, thank you.
And then we'll go to the presentation.
Resolution 11-06, resolution to accept the preliminary design and cost estimate for the new Wentworth Intermediate School and to acknowledge that the matter will be placed on the November 8, 2011 ballot. Be it resolved by the Council of the Town of Scarborough, Maine, and the Town Council assembled that whereas it has been determined that the existing Wentworth Intermediate School is in need of replacement, and through the annual goal-setting process, the Town Council has established support of this project as its highest priority. And whereas at the direction of the school board, a building committee has been working with consultants to consider the educational and community needs that must be addressed in a new school. And whereas the building committee has completed its preliminary work and has made a recommendation to the school board, which voted on July 18, 2011 to accept the recommendation of the building committee. And whereas the recommended replacement building, based on the preliminary design and cost estimates, is anticipated to cost $37,700,000. And whereas, as an alternative to the conventional HVAC system, the building committee and school board also recommend consideration of geothermal technologies to serve these needs with an estimated additional cost of $1,377,594. And whereas the Scarborough Town Charter requires that the voters of the Town of Scarborough must approve indebtedness of this magnitude, and the next regular municipal election is scheduled for November 8, 2011, and whereas the Building Committee has committed to a thorough education and outreach campaign, and now that there is a preliminary design and cost estimate, they desire to continue this campaign in earnest. Now therefore be it resolved by the Town Council and Town Council assembled that the preliminary design and cost estimate for the Wentworth Intermediate Improvement Project, otherwise known as the project, is hereby approved, and further, that a ballot question or questions relating to the project will appear on the municipal ballot at the November 8, 2011 municipal election, with the understanding the estimated project cost of $37,700,000 and $1,377,594 for geothermal heating and cooling is a not-to-exceed figure, and that a complete education campaign will occur relating to the project and geothermal heating system alternatives. Specific ballot language will be approved by the Town Council at a later date. Such action will be scheduled to ensure adequate time for preparation of the ballot or ballots and absentee balloting. Signed and dated this 20th day of July, 2011, on behalf of the Scarborough Town Council and the Town Manager of Scarborough, Maine, signed by Judith L. Roy, Council Chair, attested by Carrie A. Noyes, Deputy Town Clerk.
Do
Do you need a second for that? Second.
And at this point, then, we'll proceed with a presentation from the Building Committee for the project. It'll be a brief presentation for the public and for the council with some updated materials that you all got at your places tonight. I'll turn it over to Paul Cosell, the chair of the committee.
Thank you. Funny, a little bit of a cold. When I first appeared before you at the beginning of the year, I stated that the building committee had one major goal concerning the design of a new Wentworth Intermediate School. We wanted the new Wentworth Intermediate School to be a financially responsible project which would serve the needs and best interests of the children, staff, and entire community for many years to come. After almost 9 months and over 40 people working, I'm happy to say we've reached our goal. Tonight, I'm pleased to talk a little bit more about this project and to present our final set of recommendations regarding the new Wentworth Intermediate School project to you. Helping me with this presentation are three other people sitting up here with me. First is our principal at the Wentworth Intermediate School, Ann Mary Dexter, our lead architect, Dan Cecil from Harriman Associates, and then Cliff Grime, the president at Harriman Associates. The first item we want to talk to you about tonight is the geothermal portion of this project. We talked to you about this a week ago. What we have since learned is that there was a mistake in a portion of that presentation. We want to correct that to you for you tonight, and then we want to provide you with some updated information. So Cliff and Dan, why don't you take that piece of it?
Okay. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the City Council, Town Council. What I'd like to do is, through the series of conversations that we've had over the last few days, I wanted to just provide to you what the actual cost difference between the conventional heating, cooling, and air conditioning system for the school and a geothermal heating, ventilating, and cooling system for the school is. As Paul mentioned, when I began looking at this, and I think there are others that may or may not be in this room now, found a conflict with some of our numbers. We've gone through and corrected those. The actual overall difference, including all soft costs, et cetera, is $1,377,594. If you're looking at equipment in the building itself, if you took all the conventional equipment out of the mechanical room and put all the geothermal heating and cooling and drilled the well field, equipment for equipment, it's about $918,000 difference. So that translates to about an 18.7-year simple payback. I will tell you that we've used conservative numbers. We've benchmarked the geothermal against a very efficient conventional system, and that there's no escalation for fuel as we move forward. This is a simple payback based on today's numbers. My crystal ball over the last few years as far as fuel costs and energy costs, I think is like everybody else's. It's pretty hard to anticipate. So I wanted to do it based on today's dollars only and let you have that information for consideration.
Yeah, and I would add to what Cliff said by first of all saying that we have done the analysis here on the return on investment a little bit different than other communities. A lot of other communities, when they do a geothermal analysis, only look at sort of the hardware component of the project, the pipe, the pumps, the wells. What we have done is we've looked at the total geothermal package when we've done our return on investment. Because frankly, if you're going to look at a project, you should look at all your costs. Right. That includes your fees, that includes your permitting, that includes the architect, that includes the engineer. So again, in an effort to be transparent, in an effort to be completely candid with folks, we have looked at the total number. So what you do is you then take that differential that Cliff has been referencing is what I round up to is the $1.4 million, You divide that by the annual savings that we anticipate on the geothermal system of $73,500, and that's where we get our return on investment of 18.7 years. So that is lower than, or excuse me, that is higher than what you probably see when you read some literature concerning some other schools. In large part, that's attributable to the fact that we have no state funding in this project. We have no subsidy associated with this funding. This is all of our money going into this. So there is a longer payback period associated with it. I will say, from my perspective, it is worth it. This is a 50-year building. With a 50-year building, a less than 20-year payback on a geothermal system is well worth it. So I think Cliff and Dan have done an excellent job at sort of identifying this. The building committee has looked at this issue very long and very hard and feels very strongly about it, and that it should be part of our new Wentworth Intermediate School project. So that's the geothermal piece of this. I know it's a lot in 2 minutes or less. I'm happy to answer any questions folks may have on this piece of it. With the geothermal behind us, now we talk about the project. And again, a couple changes since we were before you last week. The good news is the square footage is the same. We are still at 163,000 square feet for our educational facility. What has changed are the numbers associated with the school. When I look at these numbers, and when the building committee has looked at these numbers, we look at them as two components. The first component is what I call the base portion of it, which is the bricks, the mortar, everything you see on that photo above you. That number as of last week was $38.3 million. What we have done since then is with some sharpening of pencils, with some negotiations amongst the building committee, causing some angst with our architect, we have done away with 3 portions of the project to reduce that down now to $37.7 million. What I tell people is what these 3 aspects are. They are removed but not forgotten. Those aspects are we are not including the playfield. And Tony, if you want to go, there we go. We are not including the playfield up on the upper corner of this site plan in the total number. We are not including the maintenance building that goes with this. And then we are not including the additional parking on the back side of the middle school. When I say removed but not forgotten, what I'm indicating is in talking with some different folks, we're going to look at alternative ways of funding those, either before the project, during the project, or after the project, but not including it in our core piece of the project. When you take that $500,000, which is what those numbers add up to, you then adjust them for the relevant contingencies in that budget, and I believe it's draft number 6 that sits in front of you. That's how we get down to $37.7 million. So we've talked quite a bit about this, about our numbers being an outline, being an overview. At this point, as we sit here on July 20th, 2011, this base portion of the project is $37.7 million. I made a commitment on behalf of the building committee that 2 things we wanted to do with the number and square footage. We wanted to be under the 2006 square footage number, and we wanted to be under the 2006 project number. I say mission accomplished to both of those. As far as the number is concerned, with or without inflation, we are under that $38 million number. So those are the primary changes to the budget. What we have then done is taken that $37,700,000 and we're adding in the geothermal of $1.4 million, which is new to our project, which was not part of 2006, and we're now at $39,100,000. Now, at this point, I've also provided a handout to folks. This was a request from the council. Harriman Associates, these are 2 sheets of paper. They're called comparison summaries. Again, requested by the council. I think an excellent idea. Harriman Associates provided me with most of this information, and then because I have an abundance of free time, I decided to play with spreadsheets. What I've done, just so folks understand, is to look at our school. I've highlighted 2 different types of Wentworth, one with geothermal, one with conventional. And if you look through those, these give you some comparisons to some recent school projects over the years. Now, this is by no means a complete list. I mean, there are other projects out there. What we tried to do is find schools similar to our project. For example, some of you will probably note that the Westbrook School project is not on this list. Westbrook has an auditorium. We don't intend to have an auditorium. We are not going to have an auditorium, so it made no sense to include that particular school in there. What this does is gives you some cost per square foot analysis as to how we are shaping up compared to other programs and other projects. And I did it two ways because we seem to be in this inflation discussion on occasion. The light green form is with no adjustment for inflation, and the blue form incorporates 2% inflation over the years since the project bid. As you can see, while we may not be the lowest, we are certainly not the highest as far as some of this analysis is concerned. So I think as far as, if we want to call it the school market, we want to talk about historical information, we're right in the ballpark as far as that's concerned. Now, these sheets by no means sell the project. These are merely references, they're ratios, treat them however you want, but I think what it says is that we as a building committee, with the assistance of the school board and working with you folks on the council, have done a pretty good job at putting a good project together. We're certainly not out in orbit, which some of these prices appear to be when you look down the list. So at this point, we've talked about square footage, we've talked about dollars, we've talked about geothermal. What we haven't talked about is community, education, and children. And Ann Mary Dexter is going to do this for you. However, before I turn the floor over to her, I'd like to say that while Ann Mary has participated in all these discussions with us regarding square footage, dollars, and geothermals, she's also been the one to remind us periodically that we mustn't forget about the community, we mustn't forget about education, and we mustn't forget about the children. Because, I mean, that's what this project really is all about. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ann Mary.
In 2006, we had an unsuccessful referendum, and at that time, the goal, of course, was to provide our children with a healthy and safe building in which they could learn, in which the citizens would know that their children had a positive opportunity for education. I have to say that I have been so pleased to have an opportunity again to work with a group of citizens, Scarborough-based citizens, who have come forward and provided their expertise and their time to benefit your children, those here in Scarborough. I'm going to add this evening my endorsement, of course, to this project, but I'm not adding it based on bricks and mortar and all of the blocks that certainly fit into place here. I'm adding it because I truly believe that the instructional opportunities for our children are lacking at this time, and that without a new facility, the students will not be able to meet and indeed surpass, which is Scarborough's reputation, the standards that are set out, the mandated programs that are set out by the Department of Education, certainly endorsed by our Scarborough School Board. It is essential at this time that we all put our full support behind this opportunity so that the children of Scarborough can indeed have every advantage that they should have in order to continue to learn in an environment that is healthy, that is safe, and that obviously is instructionally sound. So I encourage you this evening to offer your support to this project.
So where we're at is we have made three final recommendations for this phase of the project to the school board on Monday. Our first recommendation was that the new Wentworth Intermediate School be a 163,000 square foot two-story structure. Our second recommendation was that the total project cost for the new Wentworth Intermediate School with a geothermal heating and cooling system not exceed $39.1 million. And our final recommendation, and one talked about with a lot of excitement, is that the plan for the new Wentworth Intermediate School be presented to the Scarborough voters as one question and not two on the November ballot. Those were the three recommendations we made to the school board that night, And I think Chris Brownsy wanted to talk about the outcome of our recommendations to the board.
I'll point out, typically, the school board chair or the superintendent would lead this discussion, but it just shows the nature of the community volunteers who have stepped forward on this project. That we've sort of done a little bit different path, which has been great. I think the outcome really shows how well it's worked. Monday night, building committee made a recommendation to the school board. There had been a series of recommendations to the school board made over the last few months, but really the final one with the price. And after this presentation and some questions and answers from the school board unanimously, recommended that we move forward with the recommendation, made a much shorter, relatively short motion to the town council to support one question, $39.1 million for the project, and that's what we're bringing forward, and we were 7-0 unanimous supporting it. So I'd like to, officially, although they've done it, Paul really said everything, officially bring it forward to you as the school board chair, this recommendation.
So this is our presentation. We're happy to answer I did so well. We're happy to answer any questions from the town council at this point.
Council Wood.
Okay. Thank you, Paul, and others. Tom had a good comment a few minutes ago. On that spreadsheet that you showed, showing the other projects in the state, are there others here that shows as geothermal method of heating and cooling their project? I'm just kind of curious.
Yes, the ones I know of, the Durham Elementary School is geothermal.
Durham?
Yes.
Okay.
The Brunswick Elementary School is geothermal. The Gorham Elementary School is geothermal, and the Falmouth Elementary School is geothermal. The rest of these I either know or not, or I'm not sure about Brewer and Ellsworth, but those four at the bottom I know also have geothermal heating and cooling.
And do you know if those schools, will those schools subsidized in part by other entities?
Yes. They were, in fact, I believe that every school on this list except Wentworth is a state-funded school project, DOE-funded project. And for geothermal, the state's current rules is they will contribute $3.10 a square foot extra to the budget in order to help districts get over that first cost mountain, and that shortens the payback. But I think you can see from the numbers that despite the fact you don't have that, you still have very competitive pricing overall.
Yeah. And with that rebate, if you will, can you also see that as a vote in favor of going to these kinds of technologies as opposed to conventional?
Very much so. Yes, very much so. The Department of Ed did a lot of research. I know that Scott Brown, who heads the school construction division, personally did a great deal of research, has traveled around, gone to conferences, and they ultimately decided that that's a technology they wanted to invest in from the state level, and so they've been doing that. Not every school has taken up that option, but it has been available to folks.
And the other thing, is just to reiterate, this payback of 18 years, annual energy savings is $73,500. That's based on today's energy cost?
Yes.
So there's nothing in here that would suggest that you've made even a conservative estimate as to what the energy might cost 18 years from now?
No.
I have not, no.
Because most would say that even if you said 1%, you'd probably be okay with that, but based on the last 10 years' history.
Right.
So this number really, in reality, can only go down.
Yes.
This payback.
Yes.
If energy goes up.
Yes.
And when we say energy, we're talking about what kind of energy? Electricity, gas, oil? What kind of energy are used by?
You don't need to really move that. That's a real sensitive mic. The less you play with it, the better it works.
I'm a very soft-spoken individual, so. My take on it is fossil fuel-generated energy, I believe, is going to escalate. Most of the research that you see in the newspaper and on the news at night is how can we generate cleaner, more sustainable electrical energy. So as you explore photovoltaics, as you explore wind power, as you explore all these other, even nuclear, I think the penalty for burning fossil fuels is going to continue to rise. I think we may actually see a reduction in electrical costs. And this is my crystal ball. I got to qualify it. This is my crystal ball. I think you'll see electrical costs eventually come down, and they won't track fuel oil costs necessarily as they have traditionally in the past. I'll make one other point. Most of these schools that have had geothermal have not had access to natural gas. If you folks did not have natural gas and we were doing a comparison from geothermal to an oil-fired heating system, you would almost cut the payback number in half because of the cost of the fuel of oil, number 2 fuel oil, compared to natural gas at this time.
So you're using natural gas as the comparison?
We sure are.
Oh,
We're using a very efficient conventional system as our benchmark.
Okay, excellent.
Yep.
I might have a question or two in a closing comment, but I'll...
Sure.
I just had a question on the geothermal. Are there any potential grants, federal grants or anything out there relative to, installation of geothermal that we've looked at, or you've looked at?
I know that the federal government at times has had some federal tax incentives to go in that direction.
Not that the federal government has much money right now either.
But I think that's still being explored.
And I can answer that a little bit further. I've talked with one of our clients at CPM Construction, does a lot of renewable energy work, and they have put us on or given us a number of leads of potential grants to start seeking out, one of which is through the Department of Energy. We talk about tonight being phase 1 of the project. Phase 2 will, one of the items in there will include exploration of grants and potential corporate donors, but there'll be a grant component of that.
Certainly. And I think for the public's awareness, members of the project committee have been, working with the Energy Committee as well, looking at ways in which we can, conserve energy and, reduce our carbon footprint. So I think, we're working together nicely, and there's a lot of potential down the road for ways in which the entire community can save energy, and that's, this is a good start for it. So. Carol, did you have a...
I don't have any questions. I have a comment when the time is right, but no questions.
Any other questions of the... Mike?
Just to piggyback a little bit on the chair's comment about seeking out grants, are you also going to pursue, we had the discussion, I think, last week about the possibility of pursuing some ways to mitigate, if you will, that wetland impact fee of a couple $100,000?
Yes, we'll be looking at that also. And when we say grants or corporate donors, we're not just talking about the geothermal component of the project. I mean, we're going to look at all aspects. There's potentially some green money out there, figuratively and literally, that we'll be going after.
So not pursuing the play field, if you will, that doesn't reduce that wetland. That wasn't impacting wetland.
That was dry.
No, okay.
That's why it's there, because it's one of the dry spots next to your building.
And if I could add, in terms of looking at and researching grants, there are also several grants that would be available to a well-constructed building from the instructional, educational aspect. There are requirements, whether it's the technologies that need to be built into schools in order to receive some of these grants. So again, that's been factored in as we've looked at the instructional or the educational aspects in order to, again, look to the future for all the children in Scarborough.
Other questions from the council?
Comments?
Comments? Carol?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I wholeheartedly support this. I am the liaison, one of the liaisons from the council to the committee, but I haven't done as much work as I should have, but my heart has been right with this. And a couple of things I heard tonight that I just want to share sort of some history with the community. One is, we did look at geothermal in other buildings, and at the time, the building committees felt it was too cost prohibitive. But I think today, in today's, the improvement in geothermal, and also when you look at the potential of year-round use of buildings and global warming and the need to have instructional time be comfortable to encourage kids to learn. We're finding, as you know, in spring, it seems to be getting hotter and kids have a hard time concentrating in a building that isn't sort of what I call weatherized for year-round use. And the more that we can do this, I think the smarter it's going to be. And the other thing I heard tonight was that this is a 50-year building. And I want to say, yes, it may be a 50-year building, but we certainly, our anticipation is it will last longer. And we can say, well, gee, look at the old Wentworth. It's only really lasting about 50 years. But that was built at a very different time. If you look at the other schools, many of the other schools that we have in Scarborough, they have lasted much longer than their life expectancy. They may no longer be used as schools because they really weren't built for the size of the population. But many of those buildings are still standing and still have real good practical uses. Even some of our old one-room schoolhouses are still being used to this day. So my anticipation is this building will be in use in some way or another long after 50 years. Wentworth, the old Wentworth, is the exception that proves the rule. And unfortunately, the materials and the ability back then was not what it was maybe a couple of 100 years ago or 100 years ago or what it is today. And so my estimation is that this will be a school that will last us a long time. And we'll be talking about it for a long time.
Councilor
Thank you.
DeAndrea.
I think Counselor Sullivan.
Counselor Sullivan.
Thank you.
Sorry, I got to look to the right one.
I definitely support the single question, to keep it simple, and not confusing. And I also support the geothermal, so that's why I like the single question. With the turmoil in the Middle East and the way things here are at home politically, I think any natural gas or oil prices are going to rise in the future. So I definitely support the geothermal. I think it's the way to go. I've looked into it a lot, even for my own home. I think it's a good, responsible way to heat and cool. That's the new school.
I might point out, the resolution, we have kind of left out whether or not we would determine one question, two questions, or whatever, but we'll determine that at a later date. And I think there'll be more time to discuss and to really look at it. There are pros and cons to that whole issue, but we did put language in the resolution that we would make that decision a little bit later.
Right. Yeah, I understand that. I was just saying.
I just wanted to make sure you're clear.
Yep.
Councilor DeAndrea.
Thank you. I just want to apologize to the committee and the school board for not being at the last presentation. In no way does that reflect how I feel about this project. I, of course, support it wholeheartedly and want to say that I'm running for re-election this year and have already been out knocking on doors and am finding a lot of support for this project as well. So if that's any indication, I think we might have a winner. So, and again, congratulations. The work that has been done over this past 8 or 9 months has just been impressive and really outstanding. Can't say enough about this is, to me, this is what it really means to contribute in a meaningful way for our citizens. So thank you very much for all your work.
I would like to make a comment on behalf of Councilor Alquist, who could not be here tonight because of work obligations, but he wanted me to express for him that he is in strong support of building the new Wentworth, and he feels very strongly that it's the frugal thing to do, and as I do too. When you look at the fact that we've put, $2.5 million into this old Wentworth building over the last 5 years, and if we don't do something now, the potential is that we may have to put another couple million into an older building that has lots of problems. And so Councilor Alquist felt that it was a very frugal thing to do, and he wholeheartedly supports the project. Councilor Wood?
Sure. Well, as you can see, I took off my shirt and tie today and put on Wentworth supportive T-shirt, and I thank the committee for that, for providing them. So I certainly do support this project. And I can tell you early on, when I came to the first meeting, I wasn't sure what I would. I remember making a comment that I used the word if we build a new school, and a couple of people stared me down and corrected me and said when. But I'm certainly have benefited from having many conversations with Paul and Marie and others, you know. So there's a lot of citizens out there that are going to decide whether we're going to build this new school in November. And I'm convinced that if they get halfway into knowing what's gone behind, what's gone into deciding whether it is the right thing to do, they will vote in favor of it. So it's taken a long time to get there, and now you're ready to move forward in earnest, as the resolution says, to educate and reach out to the public and hopefully get them to the same place that we all are today. And I'm convinced that if you're successful with that, and I'm sure you will be, they will be here supporting the new Wentworth in November. A little bit of what Chairwoman Royce said. The money that we spend on the Wentworth today is hundreds of thousands of dollars that we're not getting back. It's just to keep the lights on. And I see that money as very good money that can be used to support a new school. It already reduces the cost of a new school in my mind by a significant amount. And we'll have further discussions about what this means to the town's debt. We had a substantive conversation last week with a gentleman from Cabot, was it financial advisor, and we talked about taking on this debt and what it might mean to the town. And his feedback was positive. It made me more comfortable than less, certainly. So I certainly do support it, and I can't say thank you enough to all the folks that have worked so hard and will continue to work even harder probably between now and November. And anything I can continue to do to support this project, I'm willing to, and I wish you good luck. Thank you.
Yeah, and myself, certainly I support it. It's frugal, as Councilor Alquist said. I think, some of the things that, will be presented as you folks continue your work, there will be many more information-giving sessions with the public, and certainly the public should go online to the website and, see that information. And that's kind of an ongoing website, so it'll be changing over time. But some of the things I think, we need to think about is that when the middle school got built, of course, we got state funding, but we wanted to build it bigger, and they would not allow us to do that. And when we moved into that building, we were pushing out the walls the day the children moved into that school. And that was one of the questions I had when we met at the workshop is, have we really looked at the flow of children of the ages that would be in that building over the next 10 years? And the state apparently only allows us to look 5 years out. But to look at how that bubble occurs over that time to make sure that we in fact are providing enough space, because we did reduce the square footage from the 2006 one. So that was one important thing. The other area that I think needs to be talked about over time, and I've asked the manager to pull some stuff together, is the question that Mr. Tripp is talking about, is the debt. And let's really look at that debt and how that debt looks out over time, so that we can see how much that indebtedness affects the annual tax rate, and that's really important to a lot of folks. I think a lot of folks do support it, whether they be younger folks with children in the school system or older folks who have been teachers or are professional and understand the importance of education. So there's a wide range of support, but there's also that fear because of what the economy is doing at this point in time. So I think a general picture of the debt service as it exists now and how it is retired over time, because each year we retire a lot of debt, and so that figures in. And Tom's good with numbers, I'm not. So those kinds of things, I think, will be helpful to the public as we move forward on this project. Purpose tonight certainly is, by the resolution, certainly is to support this moving forward to the ballot. It certainly will be up to the taxpayers of this town to make the ultimate decision at the ballot box. And in the meantime, I think, the committee is doing a tremendous job getting the information out to the folks, and I know that will continue. And the more information, the better, because misinformation usually is the problem. And so real important that good information is out there, and I think the committee's big enough that there's plenty of information. I would only have one request of the building committee. When all of the folks that are on the building committee get through this, and should it pass, we will give a list of all the other committees in the town where we need people. Because they've proven themselves that they really want to work for their community, and we have plenty of space on other committees for these folks. And so we'll make sure that that list is available to them when we get to that point. Any other comments from council? Okay, all those in favor of the resolution as read by Councilor Wood? Thank you very much, and thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll just take a couple minutes while they break things down, and we'll proceed with the agenda.
I saw. I felt sore.
given up on it? Okay. The meeting will resume.
Order number 11-37, second reading on the proposed recommendation to Chapter 405, the Scarborough zoning ordinance, Section 21, Industrial District I, B, base and bulk regulations.
Harvey, would you like to say a few words about it?
Thank you and good evening. I'm Harvey Rosenfeld, President and Executive Director of Scarborough Economic Development Corporation, just for the record. As we mentioned before, this came to our attention because we have a biotech company in the industrial park that wanted to expand and add 30,000 square feet of manufacturing space. And that's really not what prompted my being here tonight or the second reading. What did it was we looked at the ordinance and decided that the planning department and I looked at it and decided that the 35% didn't make any sense. And one thing we don't want to have happen are companies leaving Scarborough because they can't expand in our industrial zones. And also looking at the other commercial zones in town, they all allow 50% building coverage. So the planning department agreed that we should move forward and ask the council to amend the zoning ordinance to allow 50% building coverage in the industrial zones. And I don't want to take up your time, but we're happy to answer any questions that you have.
Councilor Rancor?
Harvey, since you said it doesn't make any sense, tell me why you think, you may not know, they initially put 35%.
I don't know. We've gone through all the zoning background stuff. I've talked to previous planners, and nobody knows why it was 35%. Now, that may have been a standard 20, 30 years ago. We really don't know. But really, the impact of parking and traffic for industrial zones are less than typical commercial zones. So it really, it's one of those things that stayed in the ordinance for a long time. We managed to live with it, but as I mentioned, we have a company that wants to expand, and other people have talked to me about expansion, and we don't want them to leave because they can't expand. We are hoping the CPIC committee will be looking at some other areas of town to add to for industrial development in the future. But right now we're tight, and I don't want people moving out of town because they can't expand here.
And just a follow-up question. I'm not sure, is the Enterprise Park considered industrial?
No, that's actually that's HPZ, Haggis Parkway zoning, and that's really a higher level park than the type of thing you do in an industrial park. There's a place in town for both of those levels, and if you've gone through the Enterprise Business Park, that's really a very well-designed upscale park that is going to attract other things than would normally go into an industrial park.
Thank you.
Councilor Deander?
Thank you. Hi, Harvey.
Hi.
My only thoughts about this were, and I think I've actually answered my own questions with this, but could you please speak to the issue around impervious surface area and how that relates to stormwater runoff and how that will be dealt with as you increase that space?
Every project would have to go to the planning board, and a site plan would be done, or an amendment to a site plan. There's a peer review of all the projects, and every project would have to deal with rainwater, runoff, lighting, parking. All those issues would be taken on a case-by-case basis. So there wouldn't be any impact if everyone does their job correctly. I don't know if that answers the question.
I think so. I mean, I think...
But none of these projects, you can't add, you're really limited in what you can add to a building before, and even parking and traffic patterns triggered site plan review, and that's what the planning board does with the help of their outside consultants and engineers, so that I really don't see any adverse impact. I only see positive impacts from this change.
And then the only other question I sort of had was does that 50% cover both the building and the parking lot, or just the building?
That's just building. You would be allowed to have 50% covered building coverage. Impervious surface would then be calculated, parking would be calculated, and all of that. But this is building coverage, which is pretty typical in industrial zones.
Okay.
So for example, if somebody wanted to expand the building, and in doing so, they didn't have enough space left for the amount of parking they needed, then
They wouldn't be allowed to do it.
They wouldn't be allowed to.
So they would either have to acquire other parking or not do the project. All those pieces would be looked at individually at each individual project. So that's why I mentioned there, I don't see any impact from this other than a positive impact.
Other questions, Barbara?
I'm waiting.
Any questions from the public before we have a motion? Okay. Can I have a motion, please?
Move approval, Madam Chair, of order number 11-37.
Second.
Second. Other discussion? Councilor Rancourt?
Yeah, I'm back on that pervious versus impervious, and that's a concern in this particular industrial park because of its location
Sure.
near to the marsh, but in general, in any land in Scarborough, because, let's face it, Scarborough has a very high water table. And so I have been playing around with how I could amend this. It's not that I don't support the concept, actually the idea. I just like to make sure that there isn't more impervious surface in the whole project. So let's say a person adds 15% more building, and they need to add some more parking, and that new parking surface is impervious. So now we've got a net increase of not only the building, but the parking being impervious. So I would like to be able to add an amendment, and I'm not sure how to do it, that would require any additional parking surfaces to be pervious.
Well,
But
one
would-
issue with that is now the state considers gravel impervious surface.
That's fine, as long as it's
But
gravel.
that's technically impervious by definition. To go back, each project will have to be, it may be pervious to the naked eye, but technically it's an impervious surface when you calculate rainwater and all that. Because each project is going to look at individually and you can't add any additional runoff, you are protected.
I just want to make sure of that.
And
That's what really worries me.
That's really the planning department, planning board's job, and the engineer's job.
Yeah, if I could, this does nothing to change the impervious coverage standards at all. This simply allows a greater percentage of that impervious surface attributable to the building as opposed to other parking.
Okay, so it's no netting.
There's no net change. It
Okay.
just allows the building to be bigger than it currently is allowed.
But sorry.
Councilor Dan?
That's okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of respond to Councilor Rancourt, and that is, I sort of see where you're going with this, and I think it raises an interesting idea, and that is that bringing in new kinds of materials that do allow for better drainage. And that there are many communities that are sort of moving that way.
And I think that would certainly be encouraged, because for one thing, it would reduce costs of handling that rainwater and disposing of that rainwater.
Right.
And having to direct it. So I think there'd be a definite interest in doing it that way, whether it's required by the town or not. And quite frankly, Scarborough's been pretty aggressive with finding those new things, so I expect that'll happen.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, I know there's a lot of new products out, so I just haven't seen anyone here using them yet, but that would be a great thing to do.
Well, I think that may be a subject the ordinance committee could take up. I think elsewhere in the land use standards and regulations, there could be either preferences stated or incentives provided for alternative approaches.
That would be a good idea.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it might be also, to look at what they currently have in the other standards for site plan review for the,
Yep.
yeah. Other comments or questions? All those in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rosenfeld.
Order number 11-55, act to approve the names posted to the various committees and boards as recommended by the Appointments Committee at the Town Council meeting of June 15th.
As the only member of the
Appointments.
Appointments Committee. These were posted at the June 15th meeting, and
Can I just ask, is there any public who would like to comment on this before the motion is made? Okay, thank you. Councilor
no, I
Raincourt?
was just
Go ahead.
making a comment.
Yeah,
These
that's
were all unanimously. And with that, I'll move approval of order number 1155.
And just for the records, can we just state that cable television, it's John Roberts as a full voting member, and Amy Cross Sawyer on Community Services and Recreation, and Conservation Commission, J. Anton Bodor. Moved and seconded. Questions, comments? Councilor Wood?
Just take the opportunity to thank Mr. Roberts, Ms. Sawyer, is it Miss or Mr. Bodor?
Mr.
Mr. Bodor, for volunteering, serving the community.
That was a good plug I got for the building committee members, don't you think? We can use a few of those folks. Other comments? All those in favor? Thank you very much.
Order number 11-56, first reading and schedule a public hearing and second reading on the proposed amendments to Chapter 303, the Town of Scarborough Personnel Ordinance.
With that, I would ask Ellen Blair, our Human Resources Director, to give us a background on these changes.
Thank you. Good evening, Ellen Blair, Human Resources Director. The purpose of these changes are basically for 4 reasons. One, we've made some changes that were adopted in the fiscal 12 budget. We also had our town auditor with their 2010 recommendations share some recommendations that we felt that we needed to incorporate in these policies to comply with federal and/or state law, or also basically to codify some current employment practices that I discovered weren't written in the ordinances, and that was the intent of this exercise. You all have your packet with the summary, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. I do have an amendment to an amendment that I'd like to pass out to you, but prior to that, can I answer any questions that anyone has?
Just some clarification on a word. On page 14, under military family leave entitlements, number 1 in the second sentence, should that be because of any qualifying emergency?
Exigency, that is.
It's exigency.
It is.
That's what you
That
want.
is correct.
Okay. And in that section, there is referral on several instances to domestic partners. In 2 above, it talks about including a domestic child partner's child, and then a partner's child, and then it goes on to, again, cite domestic partner's child. And then when you get down to military leave under 2, it doesn't include the domestic partner.
That's correct. This was part of, when I set out in the summary, federal law is different than state law. Federal law, and this is what most of the military leave sections are based on. Federal law does not recognize the domestic partner, but state law does. So you will find some inconsistencies between the 2 laws, and that's why we sort of did a rewrite of the entire policy to try to incorporate that into something that's understandable.
And the only other thing is you're going to readjust the index in the front?
Yes.
Dates, I mean, sections.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions for clarification? Councilor Sullivan?
Pages 18, 19, 20, this is all language that's been stricken. Okay, is there new language that's, I must have missed that.
Yes, if you note on, it actually, Counselor Sullivan, begins on the new family leave policy begins on page 13.
Yeah.
And it was such a significant rewrite because it incorporated the military leave provisions and incorporated some state law changes that we just did a complete rewrite of the policy, and so striked the entire old policy.
Okay, I'm all set. Thank you.
And the same thing happens on page 11 with the military leave. That's struck in there,
Yes.
but it's brought up in the later section.
Madam Chair, oh, you're going to do the, this is the
Oh.
first, you're not going to do the public hearing tonight.
No.
So,
I had one more question, Ellen. On page 23, when it talks about the main public employees retirement system, you've been careful to upgrade the acronym to MPERS, but in the fourth sentence of number 1, it still says MSRS. Just,
Okay.
Okay.
I see that. I'll make that correction.
just
Thank
wanted
you.
to be, see, I did read it.
Hold that thought on page 23. I think that's what Ellen wants to speak to.
Yeah, and then on page 14, it's just a typo in the first sentence. It just, the word town has an extra letter, doesn't mean.
Okay, I'll correct that. Thank you.
Little things, but I did read it.
Thank you. If I could keep your attention on page 23. When I started my presentation, I explained that some of the changes that we're talking about here tonight had to do with codifying existing employment practices into policy. And so that's why you will see at the bottom of page 23, I've given you a revised handout which highlights that last sentence. Originally, we were recommending that this last sentence be incorporated into the policy, but due to further consideration, we feel that it is not necessary to put this in policy. All of the department heads are currently contributing what the policy says, and we don't want there to be a perception that department heads are receiving a benefit that others are not. So we are now recommending not to put that sentence in.
okay, so I'll move the motion and then we'll go for the amendment. So, Madam Chair, I move approval of order number 11-56.
Second.
And I want to say that this was heard before the ordinance committee, and Ellen did a more lengthy explanation to us there, and we looked at everything and felt this should come to the council for its adoption.
So do you want to make a motion to amend the main motion?
Yes, I will
To eliminate that sentence?
happily make a motion for an amendment to strike item under section 515, retirement, section 2, the last line, the town will contribute 4% to department heads ICMA 475 plan, regardless of what the employee chooses to contribute.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion, Council Wood?
Now, that's a deletion.
That's, I said strike.
Okay.
Right.
We're striking it.
Because what you handed out isn't clear, it's a deletion. You're just highlighting that.
Highlighted that she wanted it to.
We recommended it, now we're taking it back.
All right, thanks.
We thought it would look strange being underlined and struck through at the same time, so I let it instead.
Okay, all those in favor of the amendment? Thank you. Now the main motion is amended. Any other questions? Councilor Wood.
Ellen, is it common to put in a policy such as this, or I guess we call this officially an ordinance, do we not, or?
Yes.
Is it common to put in that specifics as they relate to benefits such as, like I saw in dental, et cetera, et cetera? I mean, aren't you opening yourself to having to make many amendments during the course of a couple of years?
Two schools of thought on that. Typically, you would have an employee handbook, if you were, to have sort of the details that wouldn't necessarily be contained in an ordinance, because you're right, we would have to keep coming back to this body to make further changes. But we don't have an employee handbook as of right now. It's a little complicated because we've got so many different groups with the unions and all that. So this is our only venue really to put that information in there, and when employees are hired, they're giving this personnel ordinance manual as, in a way, as their handbook, so.
So does this personnel ordinance also, is this for non-bargaining unit employees or both?
Typically, it outlines the benefits and programs that are for non-union employees. However, absent language to the contrary in the collective bargaining agreement, this document would be referred to for guidance from employees and management. For example, your family medical leave policy, we don't have that whole policy in the collective bargaining agreement, so we would use this as the governing document.
Right. And the CBA would take precedence over this?
Yes,
if
if
you were
there-
covered by one.
Exactly. If there's any language pertaining to a specific issue in the collective bargaining agreement, that takes precedent over this.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions, comments? All those in favor? Thank you. Thank you very much, Ellen.
Order number 11-57, act to accept the SEDCO visioning plan as presented at the July 13th workshop.
Comments from the public? Mr. Rosenfeld, would you like to give a brief?
I won't take up much time because we did do the workshop just last week, but what you have is what we really have is now an economic development plan for the future of Scarborough. And the good thing about it, it was generated by the businesses and the citizens of Scarborough and the town staff rather than being something that was designed simply by economic development professionals. And so I think really the line in the beginning of this implementation plan that says the vision expresses the aspirations for Scarborough's economic development future and steps needed to move the community toward the vision. And I think that really does sum that up. It's been a 3-year project, started in the summer of 2008. SEDCO board members started talking about a plan. We met with the chamber, and the two boards got together and started working on it. It's taken a lot of volunteer effort, and the great thing about this is I think every other community that's ever done it is paid to do it, and this was done completely by volunteers. And I want to mention some of those volunteers, if I can, just quickly while I have the floor. People who took part in it were Nancy Crowell, Jim Demesis, Karen DeAndrea, Art Dillon, Kevin Freeman, Mark Maroon, Bob Netto, Matt Paradis, Michelle Raber, Rick Snow, Bob Valton, Jim Elkins, and Kerry Corthell. Some chamber board members, some SEDCO board members, and some interested citizens that got together for a very long time to work on this. I also want to point out that Julie Bassett, who used to be the SEDCO, worked for SEDCO, and now Karen Martin has put a lot of time into this, both in adding to it and also staffing it. So we really had a lot of citizen involvement. What came out of it are 10 visions, and they cover this quickly: marketing, communications, planning and development, energy and green development, land use planning, land use and zoning, regional cooperation, education, quality of life, the cost of doing business and possible financial assistance to business, types of development that fit the community, and looking at our transportation and infrastructure. And all of these things affect the economic development future of Scarborough. And because it's a really ongoing document. What will happen now, the committee has made a commitment to now excuse me, now make sure that what is in here gets done. A lot of these things are being done already. Are we doing it as well as we can? Could we do it better? And then changing as the needs of Scarborough and the needs of the residents change over the years. So we have a great plan for the public. The plan is available on the SEDCO website, scarboroughEconomicDevelopment.com, and we'll be happy, and I think the library will as well, to provide copies if people need them. So if you have questions, I may not be the best person to answer them, but I noticed one committee member here, and I'm not going to pick on her, but I think we'll be happy to answer questions if you have any.
Any questions, Karen? Councilor DeAndrea?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks, Harvey. Thanks, Carrie. I worked on this project for its first year, and it was really exciting to have that collaboration between both SEDCO and the Chamber. And in fact, when I was working on the project, I was also at that time founded Scarborough by Local. So it was really great to see actually some of the visioning starting to come to fruition even at the beginning of the process. So I endorse the plan. I think there were a lot of people who worked very hard on it, and especially want to thank Jim Demesis, who gave a lot of his time for something that he normally charges a great deal of money for.
Other questions?
Just forgive me, it occurs to me that I committed a terrible oversight in the title, if you will, of the order. We simply credit SEDCO, and I think credit is due as well to Scarborough Chamber. So with your indulgence, we'll certainly correct the record to make sure history properly reflects those that contributed to the effort. I don't think any action is required.
Scarborough Community Chamber. Councilor Wood?
Yes, I certainly want to thank everyone involved in this plan, and I enjoyed last week's presentation, and the questions that were asked were thoughtful, and the answers even more carefully crafted, if you will, and came with a lot of thought. I think the thing that I took from it also was that it was loud and clear that what Scarborough's been doing for quite some time is positive, and that document speaks a lot to all the decisions that have been made over the last decade plus as it relates to commercial districts, et cetera, and keeps us a very attractive place for folks to choose to do business in. So to me, it was not only a great opportunity to know that there'll be folks looking forward to ensure that we maintain our very, very good place in the community, but also to look back and say that, we've been doing a pretty good job right along. So for that, I thank everyone, Harvey, for all their hard work. And also, I think what came up last week, which was kind of exciting in a way, is that SEDCO and Scarborough Community, or Scarborough Chamber, seems to me anyway, prepared to offer expert testimony, if you will, to not only zoning board, but even the planning board in this body, as we deliberate and consider changes to our ordinances and the like, so that we just don't make a decision that we might not have given appropriate thought and deliberation to. So I'm pleased that they're willing to do that.
And that's an important part of this document, is the interaction between not just the Chamber and SEDCO, but SEDCO, the Chamber, the Town Council, the Planning Board, the Zoning Board. And Scarborough's been a very proactive community, and from a development point of view, been a great place to work, maintaining that balance and making sure it grows. Because Scarborough is still an attractive residential community. You just talked about building a new school. We have to continue building that tax base and jobs to pay for that. So this gives you an outline of where to go to make sure we're going in that direction. I didn't point out also, just I don't know if I mentioned the participation of both the town manager and the town department heads in this process have been very helpful and very effective. So everyone worked together. It was a really good model of community action, I think.
Other questions?
Madam Chair, I move approval of order number 1157.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I think that, I just wanted to say that the workshop I thought was very well done. Thank you.
I too enjoyed the workshop. There is a publication that came from the workshop, and this is what it looks like, and it will be available on the website
That's on our
tomorrow.
website, and it'll be available in hard copy if anyone needs it.
And there's hard copies at the SEDCO office on,
And there are some, I believe, at Town
Here,
Hall as
yes.
well.
and there are some here at Town Hall, so if anybody would like one. Certainly, I think that the group, the Chamber and SEDCO took on a big task. And I thank Councilor DeAndrea for being somewhat of the stimulus to keep it moving and get it going strong. I just, at the workshop, just cautioned, the group to say that, some of the strategies, you just have to take care not to usurp other committees' work. But I think, you know, that's the intent of this, is to work in tandem with other committees and to visit other committees, and certainly have a global vision of what's going on in Scarborough, because lots of times we have this committee and this committee and this committee, and the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, and we keep reinventing the wheel. I think this vision gives a group an opportunity to take a global look of what is going on in the various committees, and to make sure that, you know, we're not duplicating the work that we're doing, that, you know, we're all moving towards the same goal, but, you know, working.
And this committee's role
Helping
is
each
really to do just that, not do the work of the committees,
Right.
but make sure the things that should be done are actually happening, and if it isn't, trying to find out why, and encouraging the groups to do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, because as I read through it, and of course I stopped at the Energy and Green Development because I'm on the Energy Committee, and it looked to me initially like, you know, they, you know, like SEDCO will research public funds such as PACE. Well, that work's already been done by the Energy Committee, so, you know, it's semantics, but I understood the global perspective of it, and I think certainly appropriate. But I think we do need an oversight to keep things moving in the right direction, and so we're not, you know, spinning our wheels needlessly, so. Councilor Sullivan, anything?
No.
I just wanted to observe very, very quickly, it's important, I think, to note that education is a major component of this, and as you heard earlier this evening, we're on the verge of considering a pretty major undertaking and investment. I think there's a direct connection between education and how we provide for the future in economic development, and that's perhaps a part of the story that we haven't heard, at least as part of the Wentworth project, and I hope that becomes part of the message and the conversation in the following weeks, because I think there's a direct tie there, and businesses coming in often look to schools, and not only facilities, but quality of education in terms of a barometer of health of the community, and so this is truly, the Wentworth School is truly an investment that I think will pay dividends.
And we've already started that process of working with the school and the committee because of the importance of the quality of schools and the quality of education to attracting businesses, so that we're very concerned and want to keep that up and keep working with that as well. We have a lot of good things to offer people, and we want to make sure that stays up at that level.
I think, too, this report makes SEDCO a little more visible, because as we did the community survey, SEDCO didn't get high scores, but a lot of people didn't think about SEDCO as they were going through that survey. And I think this will give the folks in Scarborough a little more insight into the wide range and the complexity of the work that SEDCO does in order to improve the business atmosphere in the town and coordinate it with the town, and make Scarborough grow in a positive way. So, other comments, questions? All those in favor? Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Mr. Rosen.
Order number 11-58, act to authorize the town manager to sign a release deed for property located at 3 Huntley Drive, map R28, lot 24.
Pardon?
Mr. Hall? Yeah.
For reasons I can't explain at this moment, the town has been maintaining liens against this particular property dating back as far as 1964. The town obviously has chosen not to exercise its legal rights under those lien situations. But the good news is the property is now current. All back taxes have been paid. And to clear those liens that are attached to the property, I seek your authorization to sign a release deed to do so.
Does this property have a trailer on it?
I'm afraid I can't answer that.
Because I recall, you know, that we looked at something before, but I don't know if it's this one.
It may well. I mean, there are often good reasons that we do not want to exercise our rights in foreclosing properties. Oftentimes, what sits on those properties makes that decision, so it may well be that that's the case here.
I think it might have been one of those.
So time has been on our side, I suppose. We've been patient, and now we'll be made whole.
Comment from the public on this? Motion from the council.
Move approval of order number 11-58.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you very much.
Order number 11-59, act on the request from the town engineer to accept all deeds relating to the Haggis Parkway, Southgate, Route 1 Intersections Improvement Project, as noted in the two memos dated June 29, 2011.
Yes, quickly by way of introduction, though, the town engineer, I think, provided some good background information. The council's approved by previous action a number of permanent easements and temporary construction easements for these projects. What's before you this evening represents, I believe, 6 different actions of one sort or another that will complete that requirement. Again, it does span both the Haggis Parkway Route 1 project and the Southgate project, which was an added-on project, if you will, to the overall scope. I'm pleased to go through in more detail if you like, but again, the purpose of this is either to obtain permanent rights through an easement or, in many cases, temporary rights during construction.
Motion from the council.
Move approval, Madam Chair, order number 11-5 now.
Second.
Comment that I would make, this Haggis Parkway project continually gets picked on. And just for clarification for the resident who spoke at the beginning of the meeting, this project was not in this year's budget, it was the previous year's budget, number one. Number two, it was driven by federal and state DOT funding and driven by the foresight, I believe, of DOT to know that we needed an improved intersection at this point, looking at the Dunstan project, which is coming right along. And had we not improved this section, it would have created a lot of traffic havoc. So an important project and certainly not the bad guy. It seems to get the rap for.
If I could,
I just would like to say something too, that not only was it what you just said, Madam Chair, but it was really also as part of a result of the Payne Road Study Group, because of the traffic problems in the, I call the residential section of Payne Road. Our goal as the town council was to direct traffic down Haggis Parkway onto Route 1, and vice versa at the other end, rather than have them becoming a traffic problem on a very windy residential section of Payne Road.
Which is part of the Dunstan project.
Absolutely, it's all part of
redesigning
that.
and it's part of that to drive some traffic down that way and reduce that. So it's a well-thought-out project. Councilor DeAndrew.
I'll be voting against this just to keep in consistency with my votes against both of these projects right from the beginning, as folks may remember.
They always say it's a woman's prerogative to change her mind, so it wouldn't, you know.
Sorry, not going to do it. I didn't support these projects from the beginning, and I continue not to support them.
Councilor Sullivan?
No, I have no.
Councilor Wood?
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Any of these easements, temporary or otherwise, allowing us to plant flowers and the like? Because I hope so. I think this project is very important. We just, SEDCO and SCC just gave us a visioning statement, and it talks about all the things that this town can do to put itself in a better position than maybe the other guy to be inviting for not just folks to live in this town, but also to do business in this town. This is critical for people to move goods and services throughout town, and to continue, for us to continue to upkeep our infrastructure is just as important as for us to look forward and consider building schools to educate our children. So I've always endorsed this kinds of project, and I continue to do so, and I just want to use this opportunity to say that, you know, I know folks look at this and they see it as a lot of money, which it is, but it's not a waste of money. And they also look at things like flowers as a waste of money. And I presume that the alternative would be to fill in these holes with concrete and paint them green. But I would submit to you that maybe others are more capable than I am of giving me an estimate for square footage of concrete versus some loam and some daylilies. I think the latter is going to be a little less expensive. And I hope this town will continue to beautify its intersections and define them as a place that we call home, a place that we call Scarborough. Because if we continue to just not pay attention to these kinds of things, you're not going to know the difference on Route 1, whether you've left Scarborough, arrived in Saco, or Old Orchard Beach, or South Portland for that matter. So I appreciate all the hard work that's gone into this intersection. I look forward to the continued improvements at Dunstan, too.
I think one of the other things it does, too, with the plantings is traffic calming. It does tend to calm the traffic down.
And slow down and smell the roses.
I believe there was a question that prefaced the statement from Councilor Wood, and the answer is yes. One or more of these easements will allow us to continue with planting of street trees along this section, and I'm certainly pleased to hear you express support, and other members of council, that though there's cost associated, I think there's larger value associated with it.
And we do have a previous Route 1 corridor study back from the late 80s, early 90s, that addressed just that, the enhancement of the beauty along the corridor, since we lost all of the elms except Elsa, who's soon to go. So, they're, looking at how we could improve the aesthetics and calm the traffic, so. All those in favor? All opposed? Thank you.
Order number 11-60, act to authorize the town manager to sign a water line utility easement on property located on Pearl Street, map U2, lot 11.
Manager Hall.
Yes. When the town acquired the former Vassal property, or the so-called Higgins Beach parking lot, it acquired a private water line, utility line that existed on the property. Former owner permitted one of the abutters to the rear on Pearl Street to bring a private water line through this property. It was really a function of there being ledge in the area and no other alternative, frankly. We had prior knowledge of this, though we really didn't have time to kind of sort things out. But some 12 months or 14 months later, I come before you with an easement that intends to simply recognize that a line exists and allows it to exist, and allows general and basic maintenance that may be expected over time. So that's it in a nutshell.
Public comment? Motion from the council? Bless you.
Move approval, Madam Chair, of 11-60.
Second.
Discussion, questions? Straightforward. All those in favor? Thank you.
Order number 11-61, act to authorize the town manager to sign a corrective municipal release deed on property located on Pearl Street, map U2, lot 10.
Manager Hall.
Yes, again, relating to the same parcel, again, with prior knowledge on our part. We were aware before we acquired the property, and the situation still exists, that one of the substantial existing fences on this property line, on this property, does not sit exactly on the property line. And in your packet, not the meeting packet, but in the other notes, I did provide a graphic that I think best shows this triangular piece. And what this intends to do is to correct the deed, essentially deed this triangular portion to the abutting property owner. My rationale is twofold, I guess. One, there's no real practical value to the town with this land, and frankly, the cost associated with relocating the fence to the proper property boundary just doesn't seem, it seems to me prohibitive at this point. So again, in an effort to kind of clean things up, I come before you and ask your consideration to deed this small portion of property to the abutter on Pearl Street.
Comments from the public? Motion from the council.
Move approval, Madam Chair, of order number 11-61.
Second.
Discussion, questions? Councilor DeAndrea.
Through the chair, to the town manager, how many square feet is this?
I'm afraid I don't have that calculation. My Well, I don't even want to hazard a guess. Its dimensions are exactly 100 feet long. At one end, it's 0, and if I had to estimate, it's perhaps 8 feet at the furthest end. I can't give you a square footage calculation. I can have a surveyor or engineer help me calculate that.
Councilor Rancourt.
Did you have any more?
No, go ahead.
Would it be necessary just because if we own the property? I don't see why we would need to relocate the fence to claim it. Is that necessary?
It's not. It's simply intended to kind of clean up the boundaries. I think it will, if you take no action, the town still owns it. We've done nothing different. And as a practical matter, for many years, that abutter, the property's recently sold, I might note, but the previous owner has used and enjoyed that sliver as though it's theirs. It's on their side of the fence, so to speak. And at this point, given what I expect will be continual public use as a parking lot, in fact, we're encumbered by covenants with the Maine for Land Futures program that will assure that to be the case. I don't see any viable long-term public use for this sliver.
Councilor Jan.
Thank you.
Doesn't it give us, in fact, a buffer to work on the other side of the fence? Do you know what I'm saying?
I suppose so. It's not uncommon for a fence to sit on the property line. It's legal to do that. Your point's well taken.
I guess I have some issue with deeding this property away. I know it's a small amount, but it's still publicly owned property, and it was bought with lots of different monies, not just Scarborough residents' monies. So I guess and maybe it's more of a technical thing, I don't know, I don't feel very supportive of this evening because it's public property.
I would note, and it may get confusing, so bear with me. Clearly, the town owns it. It conveyed as part of the parent deed of the vassal transaction. For purposes of the covenant, which encumbers the majority of the property, and that covenant requires us to continually use this in perpetuity for public parking. This area was purposely excluded from that, so it is within our control, so to speak. It's not subject to the covenant and subject to other controls. So I don't think that changes your opinion, but it's clearly within this council's rights to do with it what it wishes. We're not encumbered by other challenges.
I understand that. It just is, again, public property. Like, why not plant some trees on it for shade at that end of the parking lot? I mean, I don't see any reason to give it up.
But just appreciate, it is an 8-foot stockade fence that runs the entire boundary here, so.
Yep. Ben down there saw it.
Okay.
Yep.
And I think that the other thing for me, it's being utilized by this landowner and may already have plantings in there.
I don't know that.
Yeah, that's potential. Councilor Wood?
I support this. I mean, I've come across many times, whether it be on this council or planning board level, where we've been asked to clean up, if you will, boundaries, clean up zoning, et cetera, and I see this as simply housekeeping. The fact that we're going to utilize this parking lot and part of being a good neighbor, it's within our rights to do this and straighten out the line, make it nice and neat. It's 8 feet at its widest, it's 100 feet long, and it goes to 0.
Yes.
So.
That's geometry, we have to figure that
Yeah,
out.
well, if it was 8 feet at each end, it would be 800 square feet. And it's much less than that. My guess it's probably half that at best. So, but again, I know the size isn't really isn't really being talked about. It's the principle, and I respect that point of view. But I think that it's it's wise for us to clean up that boundary, make it nice and straight, and let go of any issues that might come up at the end. I mean, I doubt very much, I have a hard time foreseeing that we're going to end up using that area any different than we have in the past. So.
Council,
Yeah, I'm not going to support it. I just hate to give up public property, and that someday that might, I don't even know that the fence is straight. I don't know, anything. So, and the abutter isn't asking for this. It isn't an emergency. We can always do it at some other time if it becomes necessary. I say it's been that way for however many years. Let's leave it as is.
Well, just to correct the point, the abutter is asking for this. In fact, they've covered all the legal expenses associated with getting it to this point in front of you. So, and again, this property has has been sold in the interim, and so as part of that process, they understood their survey, and of course we did as well. So I've been working with the current for about over a year, really, since we acquired the property regarding this matter.
Councilor DeAndrea.
So does this increase the property owner's value of his land?
Absolutely.
Sure. I can't tell you how much, but it will increase the total lot size of that lot. And to that extent, it will increase the value.
So again, we're using publicly owned property to enhance privately owned property. I can't support that.
Madam Chair,
Councilor Wood.
what we're also doing is we're taking unused public property and we're converting it into an income-generating situation where the individual will increase payment of taxes to the facility, to the municipality. It's done all the time.
My comments would be, I have no objection to correcting the line. I see any problems with it.
It's a different.
Other comments? All those in favor? Opposed?
Thank you.
Order number 11-62, act to authorize the town manager to sign a licensing agreement between the town of Scarborough and Eric Thompson.
Manager Hall.
Yes, Mr. Thompson is here this evening. I'm sure he'll indicate if I say something out of order or incorrect here, but let me provide a bit of history that brought us to this point. Some of you may recognize Mr. Thompson. He was an active participant as the council considered changes first to the home occupation section of the zoning ordinance. His particular interest had to do with operating a lobster selling operation, if you will, classified as a home occupation. And then more recently, the council considered this area of Black Point Road and the area of Highland Avenue as part of a CPIC standard review process, and in fact, changed a number of the zones in this vicinity, Mr. Thompson's property being one of them. Of note, one of the new permitted uses in the new zoning is some level of very limited retail use. And Eric has been working with me and staff about his long-term desire of opening such an establishment at some point. And to that end, we've kind of worked that desire of his. Well, I should take a step back. One of the staff's concern is, and this was a subject discussed among the council as you considered zone changes in this area. It's a fairly congested area with a number of streets intersecting in a fairly close area, existing curb cuts, a town park, a church, and a number of commercial businesses. So we are generally concerned about additional curb cuts and traffic adding to an already congested situation. And so the thought was to permit, by way of a license agreement, access through the Black Point Park access that the town currently has and maintains to access the side of Mr. Thompson's property. I proposed a license agreement approach in that it does have all rights reside with the town. It's unilateral in nature. Further, you might note that the term of this license is conditioned on site plan approval through the planning board, so the sorts of issues of traffic and whether, frankly, this can work for all concerned will be vetted out through the planning board process, who's better equipped to deal with those sorts of things. So really, at the persistence and insistence of Mr. Thompson, this matters before you. I'm not aware that it's necessarily time-sensitive, though I think he'd like this in his back pocket so he can go about the next steps of planning his future expansion.
Motion from the council, or comments from the public. Would you like to say anything else?
It was pretty well said.
A motion from the council.
Move approval of order number 1162.
Second.
Discussion, questions. Councilor Wood, then Councilor Rankor.
I'm a little troubled by this, but as I read more carefully the agreement, I became a little bit less troubled. And I was wondering if, I don't know if you're prepared, Eric, and if the chair would allow me to ask just a couple questions through her of you, if you don't mind. Can I ask you?
You have to go up to the microphone.
Could I?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, Eric.
Now I get nervous.
It'll put a face on your business here. Now, my concern is, actually, it's kind of a interesting segue to our last conversation about using public property for private gain, if you will. The license agreement certainly gives all the control to the town for the most part. I mean, they can sever this agreement for any reason, at any time. So I want to get a sense, are you prepared for that event, that possibility? I'm not saying probability certainly, but the possibility. I mean, if this park becomes more and more intensely used, there might be issues relating to ingress and egress and safety issues, et cetera, whereby the town might ring you up, if you will, and say, I'm sorry, Eric, but we're going to have to take away that agreement. And all that you've invested, all the time and certainly money, et cetera, and your good name, you're going to have to come up with another plan. You've thought that out?
I think like Tom said, I just wanted to get this, I figured approach it while TVC was still fresh in everyone's mind.
Yeah.
So I haven't thought that far. I'd like it to be successful. I know because of the Black Point Community Park, there have been numerous traffic studies. The Spray Corporation approached the town to increase the size of the Scarborough Beach State Park. I mean, there's always going to be a lot of traffic in this area.
Sure.
But, every traffic study that was done for the Black Point Park didn't suggest that there was any problem. We approached...
Just to be clear, I'm talking about the actual driveway that serves Black Point.
Well, the driveway, the reason that this came about is because, I looked originally at possibly building a small lot on the side of my house next to the entrance to Black Point Park. And speaking with, I think, Dan Bacon and Tom Hall, to eliminate curb cuts, that's where we came up with the idea. I think Tom Rainsborough was actually one of the first ones to mention it. I then spoke with Bruce Gullifer, who came down, walked the property. He was supportive, and I think then I next met you probably in a CPEC meeting.
So I'm not prepared to come up with examples of events that might occur that would have the town go approach you and say, sorry, we're going to have to sever the agreement. But what I'm speaking about is the possibility, and the possibility that all that you've invested, all the time and energy, et cetera, you might have to come up with Plan B. So where I'm getting to is this: is that do you have to go to the planning board? Is that what I read?
Yes. Yeah, I'll go for site plan.
Oftentimes, what the planning board might do is when an applicant might come forward and suggest, for example, parking lot comes to mind, where the calculations say you have to have X amount of parking spaces. But the applicant demonstrates through, say, some historical reference or something that they don't really need that many. But the planning board asks, we'll consider that, but if you end up needing more parking, where are you going to put it? So they overlay on their site plan, this is where the parking would go if we should have to build it. And, we don't have to put more impervious surface down. Stormwater management the calculations are much easier managed, et cetera. But, so in your situation, I might suggest that you come up with an alternative plan that if this agreement is severed for whatever reason, you can show the planning board that I'm prepared to, maybe consider this other alternative. And I know it might be a curb cut, et cetera, but if I was on the planning board, I might want to have that conversation with you, that's all. Because I hate to see you and the town go through this effort and something happen that might be unimaginable to us today, where, 3-4 years from now, you're out of business, and we don't want to see that happen, certainly.
I would hate to see it as well. I mean, with all the work that we did, through TVC and rezoning, and already people that have come to my property.
It's not related to TVC. It's not related to TVC, in my view, and it's not related to all the traffic studies that's been done. What it's related to, in my view, and I might be limiting myself to something that I shouldn't be, but I'm looking at the sole entrance and exit to your operation is through Black Point, the entrance to Black Point Park. Now, if something occurs where later on the town has to say to you, Eric, I'm sorry, but we have to sever this agreement, I'd like to think that you've given some thought as to, okay, I don't really like that alternative, but I have the option. I have another option. That's all.
Even if there isn't an alternative analysis done or alternative to even look at, there may not be. I think that analysis will be done once he's gone to the planning board and has full appreciation for the requirements that may be imposed. And it'll be only really at that point, I would suggest he say, well, am I willing to take the risk of making this investment without long-term security of access rights?
Well, that's the alternative, actually. I'm suggesting to you that you might want to give some thought, even if it's remote, of the possibility of having to give up this access. You might want to give some thought as to what...
Well, I have given some thought. I mean, Tom and I have discussed
the
it.
alternative.
Yeah, so the thought is there.
The other thing this does is give Eric standing, if you will, to actually proceed to planning board, as opposed to, I don't know how we frankly could make application and really flesh this out further without use rights.
Basically I don't know what maps you have, but like where I'm currently located under home occupation, my first thought was that if I move my operation to that side, the entrance to the park comes in, it wraps around my property, the parking lot basically encompasses my entire property. So by moving it over, people could access it from the park. I've had people walk over from St. Max after church, so they don't have to drive around. So they've come directly from church, take a nice stroll across the park, if you will, buy some lobsters, and I think it would just, it would benefit a lot of people. From the discussions we had with TVC, if down the road I put a cooler in and sold Gatorade and water to people in the park, or the number of bikers on Black Point Road,
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. I really do. And and you've been in some of the CPIC meetings. I hope you remember me as being a strong advocate for these home-based businesses. You've heard me speak about that here at the council also. So, I fully embrace it. The energy I have in this discussion comes from the fact that I hate to see you find yourself successful and then something happen where you're no longer allowed to use the entrance to Black Point Park to serve your business. I'm talking about vehicular. I'm not so much concerned about bicycle and pedestrian.
Well, I mean, the harsh reality of it is if it didn't work and it got shut down, I would sell my catch at the dock and not at my house.
Well, it sounds to me like you're willing to take that risk, so I should be at least a little less concerned than you, so.
Every business has to take a risk, right?
And I think this license agreement just gets the process started, and as he moves along and has more thought into it, I mean, certainly severed at any point. Counselor Sullivan?
I was...
Oh, I'm sorry.
You can go, Richard, that's okay. I just don't want her to forget me.
All right, I just don't understand it could happen, but I doubt it would ever would, the agreement be dissolved. I think we're all in agreement, would rather see that access from that point than to have another curb cut onto the Black Point Road. Anytime we can reduce curb cuts without hurting somebody's entrepreneurship is good.
Counselor Rankin?
Eric, I'm not clear because you have your little lobster house now on the other side of the house, right?
Yes.
Is that open for business now?
Yes.
And people are coming in your house driveway?
Yes.
So you would actually move that over closer? You'd move the building over closer to this access entrance to the park? Is that the idea?
Yes.
And you would have parking spaces on your property after they came in from?
Yeah, so after we
From
walked
the,
it with Bruce Gullifer, we looked at some locations behind the gate where you would access my property, talked about a few different scenarios with an entrance, parking, possibly an exit, but,
So I guess what I'm not clear about, Tom, is if the worst came to be, would he still be able to use his home driveway as the entrance, as he is now, without adding another curb cut?
Perhaps, although I think his preference is not to locate a permanent retail establishment on that side of his home.
At the dooryard,
He'd
right.
prefer having it on the other side.
I mean, I can understand that, but I'm saying it wouldn't
Nothing-
necessarily preclude him from doing that, though.
Not to my knowledge, but those are the details of the planning board review process.
Right. Because I was thinking all this time, you already had a curb cut. You don't really need another one because you've already got one. But I see what you're getting at here now.
Councilor DeAndrea?
Yeah, Eric, I'm really torn about this, man. I've seen your business. It's a great little spot. In fact, I'm very supportive of home businesses. I think they're great. But I'm having, again, some issue with this use of publicly owned property by a private entity. I've heard all the arguments.
but that's also why I'm here, is to try and be a good neighbor as well. Like when I spoke with Dan and members of the planning board, you know, I could go to Public Works, I believe, and go to planning board for a lot,
I hear you.
get a curb cut. So we figured this would be the best way to approach the situation.
I hear you. I'm very hesitant.
Other questions? Thank you, Eric. Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Good luck, Eric.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Order number 11-63, act on the request to dissolve the Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee, which was established on June 29, 2006 by the Town Council of the Town of Scarborough.
For this one, as you're aware, the charter change established the Long Range Planning Committee, and this order and the next order is intended to comply with the charter changes that were adopted by the citizens of the town of Scarborough. Anything else, Manager Hall?
No, I think we'd be remiss not to mention, not really to take stock in the fact that the CPIC committee has methodically worked its way through the entire comprehensive plan, and much to their credit and diligence, it's taken 6 or 7 years of very hard work and constant effort to get to this point. And I think it's a tremendous accomplishment. All too often, communities do good comp plans and they sit on the shelf. This town, through a number of motivations, I guess, made a commitment to see this plan through, and it's really an accomplishment we should be proud of. And certainly the work is not done, and that's why this long-range planning committee, I think, will help fill those shoes and thinking about the big issues and the kind of the vision of the community. You know, now that the comprehensive plan is nearly fully implemented.
And I think the other important point is that with the next order, it indicates that those folks that are currently
Right.
Comprehensive Planning Committee want to stay on the Long Range Planning Committee. We did have a Long Range Planning Committee before we had the CPIC Committee that had been meeting over the years, but they really did not do the kind of job that this last CPIC committee did and go take the comprehensive plan and, you know, go page by page, line by line.
Just the other point worth noting, the CPIC committee, for all intents and purposes, has been an ad hoc committee, meaning they were formed for a specific purpose.
2 years, and we extended it.
It's been 6 years in that
Yep.
specific purpose, whereas the Long Range Planning Committee, as was mentioned, is actually in your charter and a standing committee, and I think that's also an important distinction, that this sort of long-term vision is important enough to have a standing committee.
Okay, can I have a motion, please?
I'll move approval of order number 11-63.
Second.
Discussion on the resolution. Councilor Wood?
I think I'm going to cry. Oh, boy. No, it's been a very, very effective committee. The committee really began, of course, when it began putting together the comprehensive plan that the town adopted, I think, in '06. So they've been together in one way, shape, or form for well over 6-7 years, absolutely. And I have the pleasure of representing the council at the CPIC meetings, typically Friday mornings, every other Friday, every third Friday mornings. It varies, but the amount of work that gets done at those meetings is phenomenal, and it's not due to my attendance, certainly, but we have a great consultant, Mark Ireland, who keeps us on task. Dan and Jay from the Planning Department have been exceptional in their support. Carol has taken exceptional notes. Sue Auglis, Dave Merrill, Sylvia Most, Rick Chenet. And by the fact of your next order, you'll see that they've all raised their hand and wish to continue representing the town on the Long Range Planning Committee. They're truly, truly committed individuals in seeing that this town implement its comp plan, and also look forward to in the visioning that they have to see how we can rezone areas of town to be more attractive and et cetera. So good riddance to CPIC, and welcome to Long Range. We have to come up with some kind of acronym.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what are you gonna call it?
I don't know what. We'll have to have a contest of some sort.
Need another I in there.
LPIC, yeah.
The charter change called it the Long Range Planning Committee. Shall be an advisory and shall act as the primary committee to develop and recommend plans for growth. So it's already been named by the charter change.
Yeah, we can come up with an acronym, right?
Right.
And I should note that,
LRCP?
Yeah.
I guess I'm speaking about this next action. I'll hold this comment.
Anyway, thank you very much.
Okay, so on
Thank you,
this,
everybody on CPIC.
this action is to dissolve the Comprehensive Planning Implementation Committee. All those in favor? Thank you. And then we'll go to the next.
Order number 11-64, act on the request to appoint individuals to the Long Range Planning Committee as adopted by charter on November 2nd, 2010, and adopt the charge for said committee as recommended by the town planner.
Comments from the public? Motion from the council.
Move approval, Madam Chair, of order number 11-64.
Second.
Discussion, question, comments? Council Wood.
Again, I'll just quickly thank Dave Merrill, Sue Auglis, Rick Chenet, and Sylvia Mouse for stepping forward and volunteering to be part of the Long Range Planning Committee and continue the good work of CPIC. And I think it truly is important that folks such as these are able to get this Long Range Planning Committee going again, or they won't miss a beat, if you will, from CPIC's hard work. So I think that only will help Long Range Planning Committee's success in the future. It's wonderful that they've asked to continue to serve, because it's a lot of work.
I would point out that the charter states that it will consist of 5 regular members and 2 alternate members appointed by the town council. Is that, are you including the council representative and the planning board representative? Is that the alternates?
I don't think so.
No,
No,
I
okay.
think those are vacancies.
correct.
So with Alan, Rick, David, Susan, and Sylvia, that's 5, that's the 5 members. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, there's representatives on there, is there not, for planning board?
You as the town council representative, and Alan is actually the planning board representative. So
right.
that leaves 4 people,
Right.
okay, on that committee. So we need to have 1 more regular person on that committee and 2 alternate members that are appointed by the council. So we'll need to come up with some.
We need some volunteers.
Those people on the school
yes.
board, they're going to all volunteer.
Yeah, the way I read, we have 2 vacancies.
Correct.
Right, okay.
And our intent would be to utilize the appointments committee to fill those. Because we had existing committee members wanting to re-up, if you will, made sense to kind of bypass appointments, the traditional process.
So Carrie will put that on the
Yeah, and
appointments committee.
our last appointments committee meeting, we had 2 or 3 very good applicants who I think might be interested. We weren't offering this at that time, so
Okay.
maybe we can contact them and see if they would
Good
have
idea.
an interest.
Just if I could, the important thing related to the resolution, the charter language is simply one paragraph. It doesn't provide any of the kind of details associated with how a committee is to function. The value of providing some details on the organization and membership terms and duties is really to allow this committee, once populated, to function right away. I believe it'll be best to incorporate this in the administrative code when I bring forward a comprehensive rewrite, but in the interim, we want to get up and running.
And they would basically be functioning under pretty much the same guise as the CPIC committee was.
Advisory in nature and certainly the general subject matter, yes.
For the most part. Other discussion or questions, comments? All those in favor? Thank you. Non-action items, there are none. Standing committees and special committee reports and liaison reports. Councilor Sullivan, any committees?
No.
Council DeAndrew?
Just a quick update for the Conservation Commission. As I mentioned at the last council meeting, the commission is working with the state, and we have received some grant money to create a habitat management plan for cottontail rabbits. And this is specifically out at the Wiley Rec Fields off Tenny Lane. And the committee has put together a neighborhood meeting for budding property owners or anybody that's interested in what's going on. And that meeting will be taking place on July the 27th, I believe that's a Wednesday, at 6:30 at the Pleasant Hill Fire Station, and it will include the coordinator from the state of Maine who is specifically working on the habitat management plan.
Will anybody be there?
I don't know.
Oh. I didn't. Thank you. Sorry, I'm just getting a little, just clarifying, there was a resolution 1107. Did any of you get that in your packet?
Yes.
I didn't see it in mine, but anyway, I signed the resolution relative to CPIC to long-range planning, and that does give purpose, organization, and duties, so if you don't have a copy, we can get you a copy. Okay, committee members, Councilor Raincourt.
In lieu of Chairman Alquist of the Appointments Committee tonight, I am going to post the name of David Green to the Shellfish Committee. And then in my position as Chair of the Ordinance Committee, just to remind everyone, there is an Ordinance Committee next Monday, the 25th, here at Town Council Chambers at 4:30 p.m. And also, sort of in an ad hoc basis, I'm putting together and asking for volunteers for anyone who would like to serve on our Elm Tree Committee in planning the demise, the nice demise of our resident elm on Route 1, and the replanting of a new elm tree. And we're aiming to have our first meeting. I'm springing this on the manager. Hopefully, Tom, we could use your conference room on August 10th at 4:30 p.m. And is subject to that being available, we'll get that posted. Anyone interested in serving on the committee, we would love to have you there.
Councilor Wood.
Nothing, Madam Chair, thank you.
And, of course, my committee, the Energy Committee, has not been meeting, but thanks to the manager and to the other members of the committee, we've been working on developing a flyer which looks like this. It's a heavy-duty insert that can go inside of the PACE flyer that Efficiency Maine is going to be providing to the town, which has a website contact, our website for energy, and we're waiting on those before, before we head this up. We're also developing, the website is not up, but we're working on that. And we're also developing a flyer that will
Within days, it will
But
be.
in the next few days, it will be. We'll be handing these out at the concert, and we'll have them available for the Summerfest. Basically, it says, "Is your home leaking money?" It gives the Scarborough website for the energy, which predominantly that site is to provide guidance to where do they need to go, because there are so many websites out there that deal with energy and energy efficiency, and John Q. Public doesn't always, which one do I trust? Where do I go to get the kind of information? And so what we've tried to do with the Energy Committee is to, give them the ones where we feel they can get the best bang for the buck and the appropriate information, and it's consistent and follow through. So the back of the pamphlet just gives some, what the average household spends for energy bills and how you can reduce it by 30% and save up to $1,000 a year. By improving insulation, air sealing, installing solar hot water heating, upgrading heating systems, using efficient lighting and appliances, etc. And then gives the websites for Scarborough as well as the Efficiency Maine website and another website, the myenergyplan.net, which is the one that the committee is recommending that folks use as a guideline. It walks them through how do you, look at your house and see how energy efficient it is. So these will be out and available fairly soon, and within days the website will be up, and hopefully that will be helpful to the citizens so we can get ready for the next winter and the high oil cost. And I think that's it. The WOW group is meeting sometime soon, but I can't remember when. The first luncheon starts again at Hillcrest September 14th, so they're on their summer break as well. And there is a WOW cookout, and I can't remember the date of that either, so.
Well, what good are you then?
I don't, just can't do it. Okay. Town Manager's Report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just distributing some materials provided to me late this afternoon by CMP. This is a bit of a follow-up from a phone call I received on Monday this week regarding CMP's interest and intent in beginning installation of smart meters here in Scarborough. As part of the recent PUC ruling, there are notice provisions required by CMP to all ratepayers, and what's included with the materials I just provided you are two different scenarios, as I understand it, and it has to do whether the homeowner has previously expressed interest in opt-out or not, and depending on that case, and apparently CMP is keeping records of those sorts of details, one or the other of these pamphlets will be sent out. I understand there's a 30-day notice that will be respected, again, by way of PUC proceeding that was settled a couple months ago. So I mentioned that to you in passing. Don't be surprised. I at this point, expect that these mailings will go out as late as the end of this week or perhaps early next week. And so I just mentioned that in passing, that things are moving forward. I want to take the opportunity just to update quickly on the number of road projects underway in town, and they are numerous. Many of them are interrelated, and to date, traffic still continues to be able to function somewhat reasonably well, yet there's certainly some more work to be done. So the Higas Parkway and Route 1 intersection improvements, if you've been through there in the last couple of days, the contractor is back on site. They are improving the median areas, essentially pouring concrete medians, which will, in the end, be flush with the paved surface, so they are mountable. Vehicles can cross them, but they're intended to help define certainly the traffic lanes. There's also some limited granite work associated with some of those islands that are not mountable. They actually have a vertical separation and difference from the road surface. And then the Route 1 paving is, perhaps many of you have noted, is starting kind of north to south and proceeding, I suspect they're out there again this evening. It looks as though they'll be down in this vicinity sometime by the second week of August at this point. Their progress has been somewhat spotty in terms of how much they can get done on a given evening. Our contractor will be moving in and doing some of the improvements at the Southgate intersection further down south on Route 1 that will consist of some drainage work and some widening work as well. The town's also has been fully involved with the Beach Ridge Road project. That consists of milling, full-depth milling, meaning tearing up all the pavement and a fair amount of base material, putting it back down, and in doing so, really regrading and establishing a crown on the road, a proper crown for drainage. Work is, as I said, has continued from Payne Road all the way to Holmes Road at this point. The contractor is going to be away for about a week, but then they'll resume sometime about the 1st of August, I suppose, maybe a little earlier, and we'll continue from Holmes Road all the way to Larrabee Farms Road. Grondin Aggregates is responsible to do from Larrabee Farms Road all the way to Gorham Road under a contract zone agreement, and we've coordinated that work to be done with our same contractor at their expense. The other project that will come online about the same time frame is Spurwink Road from Ocean Avenue back to Black Point Park, Black Point Road. And that project will consist of a shim, meaning kind of a leveling course of pavement to, again, establish a crown and improve drainage, and then a conventional 1.5-inch overlay. That will be daytime work. It will be a day of inconvenience, or perhaps 2 days of inconvenience, and we'll have reader boards and put as much notice out as we can.
There's also some work on Mussey. You mentioned that.
Mussey Road is state work. State also did some work on Payne Road through the S-curves, if you will, along the marsh. I believe that work is complete at this point. Also, I want to mention we are moving forward with a pier dedication ceremony. It would be a shame not to celebrate this event. It's been a long time in coming. There's been a lot of actors and players involved in this. We've selected August 10th as the date for the ceremony. We'll send an invite out to everyone. Our thoughts are to have something late morning, perhaps.
It's 11:30, it said. I got the agenda.
Yes. So for about 11:30 in the morning, maybe a 20-minute or 30-minute presentation. Ideally, it will involve folks from the state that played an active role in funding. We also have some of the users, fishermen, who are interested and willing to be part of that ceremony. So again, I'll send out more particular details. A few other quick things, if I could. The town has participated for many months this spring in a benchmarking project with 8 other towns in the greater Portland area. And you might note there's an article in the recent local paper about this project, and it's quite exciting. It's not been a simple undertaking, and what it intends to do, and what it really does, is prepare a detailed comparative analysis of how each town operates and how much they spend. And we actually boil it down to per capita spending, so there's some real comparable statistics there. The point of this project isn't really to make final decisions based on what this process or project tells us, but I think it's thought-provoking, and it will, I expect, cause us to question why is it that we spend more than our neighbor. And I think that's a healthy exercise, and we'll be sharing that, I think, first to the Finance Committee, but I know the local media is interested in those results as well, and I think you'll see it publicized. Lastly, I just want to mention we are on the verge of launching a really exciting project, and this is really a thought that came from Councillor Sullivan regarding fuel assistance needs. It's the expectation of many that with current prices and certainly expected prices of heating fuel in the near future, I don't expect there's going to go down much. And the current economic climate, many of our friends and neighbors are going to have trouble heating their homes this winter, and I suspect it's many folks that haven't found themselves in this situation before. And so, based on kind of the suggestion of Councillor Sullivan, I've been working for a couple of months with local nonprofit Project Grace, who is legendary in what they do and what they do very well in our community. They are specific to Scarborough, and we want to go forward with a partnership in that we come up with a joint fundraising campaign, and they really administer the distribution of these fuel assistance resources. I know it's achievable and doable. I've done it in other communities, and I hope the council will embrace this concept. I will provide you much more detail in terms of proposal of how it's going to be structured, but I'd love the council to embrace this idea and to use the power of this podium, if you will, to help promote it, to recognize donors as that may be appropriate. And really, it's about Scarborough folks helping other Scarborough folks. So I'm excited to be part of it, and more information to follow. And just the last item in terms of housekeeping, please recall there's only one meeting next month of council, and that is on August 17th. Thank you for your attention.
Council comments. Council Sullivan?
I have nothing to comment on tonight.
Council DeAndrea?
In keeping with Councilor Raincourt's announcements about what's going on with ELSA, I have created an ELSA Facebook page. So if folks are interested in commenting on what's going on with ELSA, or have photos to share, or any of that sort of fun stuff, you can visit the ELSA, the ELM Facebook page, and you can get to it through my Facebook page, which is Karen for Scarborough. And there was something else I was going to say, I forgot, but I did not forget, however, that the police department has free, what are those things? Oh, gun locks, right. Free safety trigger gun locks for Scarborough residents, and the police department is open 24 hours a day.
Council Rancourt?
A couple of things. One, I just want to remind people 62 and over, although it's really for all citizens as well. The tax and rent refund program begins August 1st, and Scarborough has its own tax refund program, but you need to have applied for the state tax and rent refund program first.
And qualified.
And qualify for it, and applications here are for people 62 and older, and they must be in by October 15th. And secondly, to all those swinging Scarborough graduates from the decade of the 1960s, or people who attended Scarborough High School in the 1960s, we're having a reunion at the Clam Bake on August 6th, starting at 6 p.m. So be there or be square.
Councilor Wood?
Thanks. I think it's important that we recognize what, by all accounts, appears to be a great success, that concert last weekend. Is it Saturday? Sunday night. My two daughters and several of her friends went, and I know my wife and my daughter went, the youngest daughter went in to pick them up, and there were no traffic jams. There were, I think, close to 10,000 people. I remember this council having some very sensitive conversations several months ago when the promoters were in front of us asking for the mass gathering permit. So it was a huge success, and hats off to all those that helped make that happen, certainly promoters, but I'm sure the fire department had a lot to do with it, and the police department, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
So well done to all those that were associated with that. The school discussion today, I'm certainly very pleased, as I'm sure everybody here is, that the council has been unanimous right from the start in supporting a new Wentworth. And I really hope that the citizens will go further than certainly just listen to school board meetings and town council meetings, but go further and dig in deep and do some research and listen to the committee's outreach efforts and educate themselves, because I firmly believe that when they do, they will support this project. It makes a lot of sense. And I'm hoping that we'll have that financial expert that we enjoyed last week to kind of help educate us and other citizens as to what the financial ramifications and the bonds all about, regarding such a large project. I think that would be a huge help, because the number is daunting, certainly. But I think folks like him can break it down for us and certainly introduce that discussion about what debt's being retired in the next couple of years. So
on that point, I think Mr. Ellis that spoke to you this evening might be an eloquent spokesman in his own right.
It sounds like he's well equipped for that too. So that'd be great, Tom. Anything you can do to facilitate that. And the smart meter, the only thing I don't know the answer to this, and if anyone here tonight does, I'd certainly appreciate hearing from you, but all the options that we have as they relate to smart meters, I'm curious if it's been talked about as to whether an individual, if they choose to have a smart meter, so I don't think they have to do anything, smart meters installed, but if there's like several weeks or months later, if they associate that smart meter with something that, whether it be health or electromagnetic interference or et cetera, if they have a course of action to actually remove it and go back to either the mechanical or remotely located, I mean, my guess is probably.
I believe I have an answer.
Oh, you do,
for
great, okay.
There is recourse for that, and I think it's an additional, I want to say it's either $25 or $40 after you've already gone through the process, then to have it removed.
Okay.
And I think and then there's still some question about, for example, if somebody moves from a home that has an analog meter to a home that has a smart meter, there's some
That would be the same
question.
thing, the
Well,
same
there's some
problem.
question about that.
Right.
So there are still some things that need to be cleared up.
So that's interesting, because Councilor DeAndrea, and I thank you for that, brings up the other point. If you've taken pains to not have one installed, and then you move to a home that has one installed, which is likely to be the case, really. I mean, I'm sure CMP has thought about what that new homeowner might do to have that removed, so I just think that'd be
I'll find out.
other interesting. Thank you.
Good, thank you. I just have a couple things. My condolences out to the family of Gloria Young, who passed away a few weeks ago. She's been part of the Scarborough community for a lot of years. Regarding the smart meters and issues, certainly Eliza Boxer and Sue Foley Ferguson, I think are putting together some public sessions, question and answer for the public, and I'm sure they will have those announcements. And the manager extended out to her using our website to advertise, the meetings that they may have, so that in case people do have questions or any concerns, that those will be answered by them. Certainly, I would thank the home health visiting nurses, very nice, and certainly really important, I think, that we, as a community, help to support these agencies who keep people in their homes as long as possible and keep them independent as long as possible. It's really important. Only 3% of elders end up in long-term care facilities, and the rest of them are out there in our community, and many of them, there are many more out there who are not getting services that need services. It's eye-opening. Just go for a Meals on Wheels ride one day, and you'll have your eyes wide open. Regarding ELSA and cost concerns that was expressed by the public, certainly we do have part of our budget process in Public Works is to take care of trees, and that's there are some funds there, and certainly there's going to be an effort, and Carol and Karen are working hard on that, to perhaps earn some monies towards that cost. So we are looking at cost, and we are being frugal, so just assurance for that. So with that, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor? Thank you very much, and good night.